So last week I was telling you we were going to start getting in more set-top media players doing reviews of them. This week, C-200. Well, you probably never heard of them, but we bet you have heard of the Popcorn Hour C-200 networked media tank. Mr. Heron has his take on it. So, set-top box. In the most generic sense, what is it?
Well, in this case, it is a decoder for a variety of audio and video formats that are out there right now. All the popular formats you run into on the web, plus all of the common formats you run into on things like DVD and Blu-ray media, audio formats.
Right.
This box can basically decode that and get it into your home theater setup.
So it's not going to do, you know, the Apple DRM encoded video from your Apple TV. It's
Probably
not going to do, you know, something that's locked down to the Zune HD. But pretty much anything that's open is fair game.
Totally, and most stuff you can find on the web. Now, I have this connected via HDMI right to a television, and the setup was fairly simple in terms of just getting it set up. There's an RF remote. One of my favorite things, that's the default option with the C-200. Actually comes with a remote that you don't have to point at anything, and that's really nice. That sells for $200 or $300 for that setup. You have to pay about 12 more bucks if you want infrared support as well. It includes a different remote as well as an infrared
I was going to
reader.
say, well, if you want that remote to also control your television, you're probably going to spend the extra 12 bucks.
Exactly, and that's a pretty reasonable fee. Or if you're going to use something like a Harmony remote, a universal style remote to control this device as well. Now, it comes with no internal storage, so they leave that up to you in terms of how you want to outfit this device. Right now, I have an SATA drive that goes in a front bay, literally just slides in there. Please don't take it out right now, but otherwise it is. We can pop it out as soon as we shut it off. It's simple. It literally just slides in and closes. You don't even have to open it up. However, if you do crack the lid on it, you will find another SATA port in there, so you can add a second drive. Now, there wasn't exactly a spot for it, but there was room to kind of just put it in there and hold it. Anyway, there you go. In this case, also, double stick tape is for. Double stick tape rules the world. Now, the other nice thing is its support of optical media. And in this case, you have to use an external drive enclosure, and that's what we have on top here. In this case, we have a DVD drive. It also supports supposedly Blu-ray drives, but of the three optical drives we had laying around the office, none of them were Blu-ray. Somebody stole Patrick's drive. We got to get that back.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was fairly flawless. Basically, adding the drive then adds it to the interface, which you see right behind us. Now, one of the cool things, just getting it online, once that's done, you can immediately utilize some of those online functions. In this case, they have what they call their media portal service. And I'll fire that up real quick. And it brings up, ta-da, standard media feeds that you can get from around the web, including things like YouTube and Flickr, and of course, Revision 3. One quick thing, for the people out there who are doing HD video content for the web like we are, one thing I really appreciated, hey, look at that, we're right at the top, gotta love that. Any of the episodes I ran into, there's a word right here that says large, and that's the format type for the video. Just scrolling up and down with the remote, I can go for the HD version, the small version, whatever you like, and I can just hit the button and play it. And
why would you play the small version?
I wouldn't play the small version, there we go. I just hit play, and it will go online, find that video, and start playing it. Of course, we get the black screen until then. Slight buffering for just about everything you do. Doesn't take too long, and it's fairly seamless once it starts.
Coming up on today's episode, where do projector screens go?
That's the internet side of it, and of course, there's also customizable RSS feeds and other types of media you can subscribe to manually. There's services you can sign up for, but let me jump back to the main menu real quick here. Ta-da! One button gets you right back. It's really nice. Under setup, the device built into it. Once you add the hard drive. Adding the hard drive for this device is really key because that enables the device then to go online and download a suite of utilities from the Popcorn Hour website, and that gives this thing additional functionality I think a lot of people are really going to get a good taste for. And let me go into setup real quick, and what they call is the Network Media Tank applications, specifically things like a universal plug-and-play AV server, another in-home server, FTP server, Samba support, NFS server, a BitTorrent client. You can actually set this up to be pulling down your streams automatically. You can configure that through a browser, as well as a Usenet client. I found some of those were really handy, especially the Samba support. That just gives you access from your, say, your Windows PC, and you can go in and drag and drop files right into the hard drive on here.
Cool.
Now, they claim this has a gigabit Ethernet connection on it, but my own testing, I found that I was never getting anything faster than 100 megabit speeds in terms of transfers. Still pretty good for music, but when you
What's
get into
your router at home?
I have a D-Link 655 with a gigabit switch in it and a gigabit from the computer to the port, blah, blah, blah.
Just checking.
I'm set. But I was, once you start transferring, say, multi-gigabyte files, like DVD files.
Gigabit
or
Ethernet would be nice.
Huge video files. Yeah, gigabit support would be great. And I'm not sure if that can be corrected or not, or if maybe it was something on my end. I'll leave it to that. Other cool things, I have to say. Did I mention the RF remote? It was always good. We talked a lot about what this thing is great at. Let me just quickly go down some of the cons I ran into. One, the hardware I wouldn't say is beta so much as the software that drives it all. Right. I would say I immediately did a firmware update. I immediately did a firmware update when I did this, and I was going through some of the codec support, and things like FLAC support was missing, and the ability to stream certain files over my network from, say, a NAS device, that wasn't supported. Now, they're claiming that all these things had worked in previous devices. That is all being worked on right now. You're essentially playing beta tester. And also, the network performance I already talked about, but overall, I have to say, the performance of this device, even with large amounts of files, was relatively good. Now, I did feed it a folder of, say, a single folder containing about 7,700 pictures.
Wow.
That bogged it down. It took about 7.5 seconds to go between different pages in terms of that. But in its ability to deal with large amounts of folders and files mixed together, it was snappy. I was really surprised at how much. I never felt like this thing, I was waiting very long for anything to happen on screen.
That's a good thing, because some of the set-top boxes we've seen over the last couple of years, they have sort of the firmware of doom, or maybe whatever comes from the chip manufacturer, and you would sit there and you would hit next, and then eventually the menu would open. So anything that's snappy on a set-top box is especially good.
Totally. And as with most players, of course, I have some photos in here. You can always do stuff like slideshows and whatnot. You hit the button, you have full control over what you want to happen as far as your slideshows go.
Oh, wow.
In terms of transitions or how long you want the photos to appear. You can do background music, including internet radio streaming while you're doing your slideshows as well.
If you have a completely unhinged folder with 7,000 files inside of it, like you mentioned it before, will it index that, or is it just a bad idea?
Oh no, it did it, but it was it only shows you, here, let me go back to that previous page real quick.
So it doesn't index it and store the indexed information for faster access the next time you
That would be awesome
folder.
if it did that. However, it just takes you back to this page.
Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I love it. For $300, its ability to go through the content I already own and get it into my living room, it's working really well on that. I wouldn't hand this to my mom, not yet, in its current condition. Documentation needs to get stepped up, but product speed and functionality is there.
So any non-DRM codec, except for FLAC and some other stuff in beta, DVD, we'll test the Blu-ray by next week. That's a whole lot of functionality in a single box.
It really is.
Cool.